live. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I am Chris Knight. This is the Real Review 3000, and this is the Gospel According to Chris. So today I have with me part of the KC team, and if you don't know who the KC team is, it is the ChaosCentral.com team. These people are content contributors and the people who help us make that website work. So today I have with me, we'll go just right next to me on the screen here. I first have Stephen Walton Jr. Stephen, please tell everybody who you are, what you're about, and where they can find you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Walton, obviously. Now, I'm writing the Phantom Menace volumes currently at the moment, working on that, getting ready to put that out next year. I'm also a writer for Chaos Central. You can find me on Twitter, Stephen Walton Jr., and on YouTube, or author Stephen Walton. I don't put too much content out on YouTube, but I try and keep everyone updated on what's going on. I'm also a science fiction writer. I work on a series called the Elemental Saga. I'm going to be working on turning that into a graphic novel series. I'm just trying to get an artist lined up and find out what flows and what works. Thank you.
Awesome. Next up, Mara Jade. Mara Jade, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you can be found, and all of that jazz?
Okay, hello. My name is Mara Jade, and I'm finally revealing my face for, actually the second was on Mary's Dungeons & Dragons stream. You can find me either through my YouTube channel, technically, but I don't have anything uploaded just yet. Primarily, I'm on Twitter, basically pointing out the idiocies of SJWs and making soy boys cry. Now I am a contributing writer for ChaosCentral.com.
Awesome. And Shaun, if you do forgive me, I'm going to skip over you real quick and go ahead and go to Noway. Noway, why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you're about, where they can find you, all that stuff.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Noway Neophobic. I'm the outpost in Austria of the Phantom Menace. I'm a graphic designer and web designer, and also I'm a technician. I'm part of, in the moment, inactive because I'm hurt. I'm practicing Shaolin. And, I have a problem with unfairness, like it's shown in the mainstream media in the moment, all this gender swapping, all this race, this new kind of racism. The people think they are fair with what they are doing, but in fact they cause diversion. I have a problem with that. And when I heard Chris and Shaun will do a website, I was happy to jump on and do the website and do the graphic design, the logos and other stuff to help this community, because the Phantom Menace and the Fandom Collective are awesome communities. But that's also the point why I have not so much time to do videos at the moment. Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Blame it on me. Blame it on Shaun. That's whose fault.
Usually is.
Yes, it is. It's normally our fault. And last but not least, the other half, the Real Review 3000, he also has his own channel. I'll let him tell you who he is, what he's about, where you can find him. Shaun, go ahead and do that.
Do I want to be lazy and do the pre-recorded thing, or
go ahead if you want to do your little Rocky Balboa
intro? It's not Rocky Balboa. It is Apollo Creed.
But it comes from Rocky.
Dancing Destroyer, the King of Sting, Count Mephisto, the Prince of Punch, the Master of Disaster, the one and only Shaun Stackhouse. And you can find Shaun Stackhouse on YouTube and Shaun Stackhouse on Twitter.
There you go. Jeez, I swear.
I had to do it to compete with Mary, man. Mary is always on fire when she plugs her stuff.
I just say what I think. I tell people that if you watch our channel at the Real Review 3000, I call it ADHD for YouTube. It's a wide variety of stuff and who knows what else. So anyways, we're going to talk about what you guys are inspired by, the things that make you want to write, the articles you write, the content that you put out there. And I'll let you guys kind of just take turns. Whoever wants to go first can talk about that. Tell us what inspires you first off. Who wants to go first?
Ladies.
Okay, Mara, go right ahead. What inspires you to write?
Really, it's just that I grew up with a love for pop culture. You wouldn't consider me, I guess, exactly a normal girl, because even though I did technically play with Barbies, I would also watch cartoons like Batman the Animated Series, Thundercats, The Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men, and so forth. So I never really saw myself as like girly. I was always the nerd, and I've taken that love of pop culture with me as I've grown up, and now I'm seeing it being infested with identity politics and virtue signaling, where they put sociopolitical of just telling a good story, where they put emphasis on a character's sex, skin color, or sexuality over top of what would make him or her empathetic. I'm at a point now where I'm I've been pretty much done with the MCU. I've been more of a DC fan growing up, but now it's just I'm sticking with like pre anything like with like Disney or anything like that, because for me that was the still holding on to what I grew up with. It was still all about storytelling and not agenda, and that's why I'm writing for Chaos Central. I just want to anytime that anything is affecting a popular franchise that we're seeing, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much why I'm writing.
Yeah.
We could definitely watch cartoons together.
Yeah, that was a good lineup.
Yeah.
You don't want.
Most definitely. We should do some watch parties with those.
Yeah. Because you said Thundercats, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The older, the newer, both.
I like them both, actually. I don't like Thundercats Roar, but the reboot the Cartoon Network did in, say, 2011, even though they changed some of the origins, it was okay.
Yeah, that was okay.
But the 85 original was the best.
I think Mara wants to say otherwise.
Well, I think like today's cartoons look the same. It's like they have the same stencils for every cartoon, so you could watch one cartoon and then see the same style of animation in another, which is also why I prefer older cartoons, because you could tell the differences in drawings versus like from Batman the Animated Series and then going into watching like X-Men or Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, Batman the Animated Series is like the gold standard.
It's one of. I mean, I think though she's right, and I think that has to do with a lot of the fact that they're getting rid of hand animation and they're going to a lot of computer work and stuff, and what they do is they pull up a wireframe of X character, and they just kind of embellish a little bit around it, but the basic formation of that character is the same. So.
Well, also you have to take in consideration that they hire a staff of 3-year-olds to draw their cartoons.
Yeah, but if they hired you, Shaun, they'd still be hiring a 3-year-old.
Man, if they hired me, at least it would look like Beavis or Butthead.
Well, that's true. Probably have the same voices.
Yeah, probably.
By the power of Greystall. Okay, so Steven, what inspires you?
What inspires me? Originally, it was fiction. For about 20 years, I've been working on this series. Since I was a teenager, reworking it and doing it over again until I finally started publishing about less than 10 years ago, about 8 years ago. And then I dipped out. I dipped out of politics. Like I just couldn't take it around 2012. And the whole torrent of 2016 kind of pulled me back into it. And it was just kind of like it was a circus to watch. And then I ignored it again and until The Last Jedi. And then, like many people, was very upset with it. Started watching Geeks and Gamers. Jeremy was the first YouTuber I really started following, and I heard basically everything that I felt mirrored in him. So I started watching other channels and getting more involved and talking with people and getting more involved in social media, and it became like a rabbit hole that became the Fandom Menace. And I really enjoy everyone in the Fandom Menace, all the interactions that I've had with different creators. And I hear the same resonating message coming from anybody, no matter, if you like TLJ or not, or if you like certain content or not. It's that identity politics has taken over. That has become the new everything out of Hollywood. And they're like Noway said earlier, they're taking they're talking about virtue, they're talking about fighting racism and sexism and all these things, but at the same time they're devaluing a segment of the population in order to elevate another. And that is a contradiction. You're not actually reaching equality by doing that. And I'm a person who grew up on Star Trek. My father brought me up on TOS, so I've always had this Gene Roddenberry view of the future, where everybody had an equal opportunity. Everybody had equal chance. Everybody was equally respected. And that's where I want my future generations. That's where I want my son and my grandchildren. I want them to live in that world. I want to help work toward that. And watching all of the use of divisions by Hollywood and politicians and various other groups to create controversy. And the real truth of it is that the wealthy, who have always been in power all throughout the last 50 years or so, their goal is to stay in power. So if you keep the people underneath you fighting, then they can't unify to point the finger at the people who are really stirring up trouble. And entertainment is being used as just another way to divide the people. And it's ridiculous. They're taking our modern mythologies and their things that once unified groups. Even if you had different ideas on Star Trek or Star Wars, or you had different views, you could still come together and have those conversations. You were people young across the room that, oh, you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're this, or you're that, because you don't think that, Darth Maul saber should have been a double blade. Like, just as an example of something stupid. And it's ridiculous. And I'm calling it out because a lot of people aren't calling it out. You've got a lot of the access media; they're just falling right in line, just to get interviews and just to get those early release tickets. They're out there just shilling for these companies that are pushing division and hate and using it as a platform in order to push an ideology, push socio-political ideologies. And so I'm here to do my best to stop that, because like I said, I'd rather see the Gene Roddenberry future, where we're all treated equally, we're all treated on the merits of our character, than what our skin color is, what our sex is, who we sleep with, all that other gobbledygook that is just being used to keep us infighting, to keep the working class and the poor class fighting and divided. And that way we won't unify, point the finger at the real problem, the politicians and the elite that are causing the actual issues in our society, that are causing the actual problems. I don't want to get preached to by those people. I don't think privileged millionaires that are supported, that are in a place of privilege and entertainment because we are there paying their way, because it is us, the backs of us, the money that we spend, that gives them their millions of dollars and their lavish lifestyles. I don't think it's up to them to preach to us from their echo chamber that we're not living life correctly, or that we are, without knowing us, racist or bigots or anything else like that. It ain't fair. It ain't right. And that's why I'm writing. I'm going to do my part to fight that. I want to see a decent future for my children, not the continuation of prejudices that have gone on in a cycle over the last several centuries. It needs to stop with us.
Yeah,
very good.
Absolutely.
That's an excellent way of putting it, and you're absolutely right with a lot of that. So, all right, Noway, why don't you tell us what inspires you? What inspires you to do the stuff you do?
It's about 5 months ago or something. I wasn't very active. I have my Twitter account about 6 years, but I never used it. I was mostly on Facebook. And what inspired me to get on Twitter, to get in contact with all those geeks and all those nerds and all those movie lovers and all that stuff, it was TLJ. It was The Last Jedi. And I was really pissed after seeing it. I was already a little bit confused by The Force Awakens, but it was okay for the first part. And then I started to search out videos and commentaries and all that stuff, and I saw that other people see it the same way that I do. And I tried to get in contact with them. One of the first people was Julie Geeks and Gamers, the Jeremy Griggs, and foremost Star Wars for Life, Ruthie. And so I met a lot of people in the Phantom Menace. And I'm a very spiritual guy. I'm not a guy who thinks the one religion or one spiritual teaching is better than the other. Every one of them have their diamonds in it, their wisdoms in it, and it's for us people to find those wisdom parts in those teachings. And we all know Hollywood and the media, they have a lot of power at hand. But like Stephen told us, they paid with our money.
Yep.
Or paid with our money. And this trend I see there to force diversity. We already were on a very good way. Every one of us loved Blade. Every one of us.
Hell
I
yeah.
never thought about that. I never thought about this race difference. I grew up in Germany, and for me, it was completely normal to be with black guys, be with Turkish guys, be with Romanians, be with every kind of style. It was completely normal, and we never thought about color or all that stuff. And then those people started to bring this up. I have gay friends, and they are enormously funny people. You can have parties with them. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And they don't bother you. If they know who you are, they know how you are. Nobody talks about that. We could do fun and all that stuff. And now Hollywood starts to tell people they have to apologize for jokes. Man, if you hear the names we heterosexuals are getting from them, sometimes it's hardcore discussing.
Oh yeah.
I accept reader.
You can laugh. You can laugh. This is really 18 plus. This is not PG-13.
No. I think the problem with a lot of that is that, and you say it really well, overseas, this stuff has been dealt with years ago. And you guys dealt with this years ago. And you walk around like it's nothing. I mean, the way that Americans handle politics, the way that Americans handle race, sexuality, sex alone, I mean, all of that stuff, we're so young about it. We're so juvenile about how we handle it. And unfortunately, Hollywood is injecting more and more of this juvenile thought process into it by trying to say that we're going to force you guys to allow diversity. We're going to force the narrative with diversity, morals, all this stuff, and that doesn't work. And all it does is it splits people, and it divides people.
They have no morals.
Sorry, I understand that, but they use the things against us in the way that they say they don't, by saying, you're for instance, you're just a homophobic white privileged male. Well, what in the world is that? That's race. That's bringing out something about sexuality, and you don't even know me, but you use those things. But if I turned around and said, oh no, you're this, I'm all of a sudden the worst person in the world, even though I may have said the exact same thing back to them.
Well, you are the worst person in the world.
That's okay. I mean, I understand that. And you say that because I like The Last Jedi. I understand that.
That's what saying in Germany. We say, kehr vor deiner eigenen Haustür. That means clean the place before your own door, before you criticize me. Okay? And we all know the guys in Hollywood. If you have a lot of money, I was part-time rich in my life. I had a roller coaster in life more than once. There were times I had a lot of money. I had girls, I had parties, and I had all that stuff. Then I totally destroyed it. I was totally under the carpet. You know, you cannot get deeper. And I crawled back up. I'm in the moment. I'm in another phase of crawling back up with a very good idea, without any ethical problems, like I told you with this game what we are doing. And my life always was based on spirituality. And what we see here is regression. You know, this the Hollywood people. They There are people killed. They have depression. They have drug problems because they have a lot of money and they don't know what to do with their lives. Sometimes the media is full of that. And
They also
people like that, how is the name of this blonde actress, this big one? She talked out for this big media boss harasser, sexual harasser, who was this, what was his name?
Weinstein
Biggest story. Huh?
for Weinstein.
What? Weinstein, yeah.
Yeah.
She talked to Weinstein. She's how is her name? This blonde, the tall blonde.
Oh, geez, yeah. What is her name? I know who you're talking about.
It's not. Yeah, I can't think of it.
You know, those that are hypocrites. Where to have that mindset, to know what's going on in Hollywood, and you know that the guy you are talking for is a sexual harasser and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what, Meryl Streep?
And then to have the balls
Uh,
to talk down to the people who paid you in the first time,
Right.
to pay interest, time, respect, and all that.
Right. Shift the blame. Just take the blame and shift it. Don't look in-house. Don't look at the people that are covering this up and perpetuating it. The problem is you fans, you're sexist.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not that, that's the. I'm sorry, Noah, go ahead.
They are not spiritual. They don't know nothing about enlightenment. They don't know nothing about what the the people normal lives have to accomplish. They already forgot it. If you have the first million, or like Brie Larson, 6 million for the first movie, it's like a drug rush.
Yeah.
I know this. I had this drug rush, and it is like that. And if you fall down again, and you have to reflect yourself, and you know what you did, and you know that you not always thought about the things you said, and you have a little bit spiritual moral, you feel sad about yourself. And if you look into all those spiritual teachings, all spiritual teachings have one thing in common. There's a vertical way of evolution. Okay, you can first you look that you can survive, you build a family, you be a decent person, learn about morality. Then other people, you can learn that other people can orient at your deeds because you're a good person, and then you create love, like for everyone. You create more freedom to show love to everyone and all the stuff. These are evolutionary steps, okay? And that what they are doing with the identity politics is in fact a regression, because to hold the focus on race and gender, and that I mean this is technically correct. To hold the focus on race and gender is to oppress evolution, and that's what they are doing.
That's absolutely right.
Well said.
Mhm. Well, with
Yeah,
that,
that's what I like the Phantom Menace, because we are diverse. We have a lot of different people, like Asians, like Greeks, like Austria. There are Germans in Austria, like me. We have Black Angus. We have all these awesome people who have common sense, and that's what we need. And we need to speak out. We need to speak out. We have to tell the people. that has to stop this bullshit. Really.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that you make a good point there about just what forced diversity and all of that does to everyone around us. And I think we've talked about this before on some of Mary's streams. I know Shaun and I have talked about it on streams like General Zod's and things like that. Basically, what it does is, when you go to your house, 20 years ago or go to your parents' house or your family's house for Thanksgiving, it used to be the only thing that could really divide a family was politics, and you just didn't talk about politics. You stopped out of there. So today, if you go to Thanksgiving dinner and maybe you say something about, I really didn't like such and such movie because it was obvious they were just forcing identity politics or something like that, or they were forcing ideology on me, and somebody else there disagrees with you because they loved the movie and everything about it. That type of stuff divides families now. Instead of 20, 30 years ago, when if you didn't like a movie, you could civilly discuss why you didn't like it and people would actually listen to you. Automatically, you start by saying, I didn't like what they did because of that, but it didn't work. They don't even allow you to explain why you didn't like it like that. It isn't just because of the identity politics. It's because it just doesn't make for a good movie. It doesn't work in the movie, and there's no script, and there's a lot more to it than just that. But you just can't discuss that in a civil manner, it seems these days, and that's a real big problem. So Shaun, and you and I kind of have talked about this, but what inspired you to be a part of this project?
Well, the first thing that I noticed was Ghostbusters 2016, because Ghostbusters was always something constant in my life as a kid. There was the movie, the cartoon, the sequel, and the toys, and so when all of this supposed backlash started coming around because the cast was female, I started looking into like these posts on the YouTube trailer, and people were saying, no, we're not saying that it's because they're women. We're saying it's because you're not passing the torch. You're just completely rebooting the franchise. And then I would tune back in, or refresh the page, and all of those points and posts have been deleted by the person maintaining the Ghostbusters 2016 YouTube page. So that's when I noticed that somebody out there was trying to silence our voice. And then, we come to The Last Jedi, and I had to see it 2 times because I was just so confused.
Me too.
At the first time I saw it, I walked out of the theater and I kind of felt like, I don't know, I'd lost a best friend or something. Like, okay, something's not right. And then I went and saw it again, and then I just got really, really angry. And then shortly after I saw The Last Jedi for the second time, like many people, I came across Geeks and Gamers, and for a limited point in time, I came across Sean Campia, and then he started to shill for whoever and whatever. But Jeremy always stayed, pretty straight to the point. Yeah, he was always constant. And so that's why I kind of geared more towards him. But as far as Chaos Central, Chris and I have been kicking this around in one form or another since we were in high school. We didn't know what it was going to become, but we wanted it to become something.
Yeah.
One can see your scars, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the original impetus of this whole project was probably the fact we were teenagers and we didn't feel like we had a voice. And maybe I said that there's a lot more to Chaos Central than what it is right at this moment. But this is a good start. It's letting people have a voice. And maybe that's part of what we had a problem with, is that when you're a teenager, people are always saying, no, sit down, wait your turn, be quiet, or listen to these people. They know better. And, as I've gotten older, I kind of understand some of that, but there's still the fact that I have a voice. We all have a voice. And I've said this time and time again, while in the Fandom Menace and in the Fandom Collective, our voices may not be exact on what we're saying, there's two things that are most important about this. One, we allow each other to have the differences in our voice that we have.
I love
And
that.
two, we respect the differences in each other's voice, because we all understand that we're all against the major politics of our fandom.
It's like when you went back to the days of the prequels, the original trilogy fans and the new trilogy fans. You could have debate, but they would all be civil debates, because at the end of the day, you're still a Star Wars fan. And so that's kind of how I view the Fandom Menace. We may look at it a little differently, but at the end of the day, we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah,
exactly. And I want to say something about voices. The wish to have a voice doesn't come from itself. It's always because there was already something said, and you have an understanding that you have to add something, or you have to criticize this because you don't want to live under this set status or something. This is a ping pong system, and in Hollywood, they act like if they are so socialist, so socially motivated. They do at the same time. They want to silence the individual creators. How does this fit into this picture? What is social about to silence voices which are critical, and they aren't per se hateful. They just say my understanding of this or that morally, or what my children have to say. I would like to see it a little bit more fitting harmony, or uplifting or empowering. Like you said, Stephen, before, they empower minorities by stepping on others, kicking at others. And we did no wrong. I cannot remember that I oppressed anyone. I had no slaves. I didn't walk into another country and kill anyone or anything. What this partialism of critics at us, where they get that, and with whom they are talking.
I think that the best example of the hypocrisy of Hollywood was back in the early 2000s, say 2003, 2004, when Mel Gibson was trying to get The Passion of the Christ by anyone in Hollywood. Everybody turned him down at least once, and Mel said, "You know what? I'm going to fund this out of my own pocket." And he did, and it became a hit. And then he became target number one for Hollywood. And his career was in the toilet for like a decade afterwards.
Yeah.
Because he went against their narrative.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what Hollywood shows. Everything they are is control freaks. They are control freaks. They are drug-induced control freaks.
Yep.
That's all they are.
I think social justice warriors are the biggest racists and sexists out there.
Oh, yeah.
That I can think of, because
Preach more.
The first thing they judge, well, not necessarily judge you on, but they say, well, we're going to create a character. Here's a checklist. And the first three things are, okay, we have to have a black person. We have to have a gay person. We have to have this. They're looking at the superficial qualities of the characters rather than, okay, what's the character's strengths, what's their flaws, what's their hopes, what's their dreams, things like that. If you look at Luke from A New Hope, to kind of bring like Star Wars back in, you could empathize with him even if you were a woman, because we've all had that desire to get out of like whatever situation we were in. And his desire at the beginning of the movie is he loves his uncle and aunt, but he doesn't want to be stuck on Tatooine. So anybody could empathize with that.
Right.
We've
and
all been in that situation.
who
So it wouldn't have mattered if he'd been like a black kid or even a female.
do you remember who it was or what woman it was that said, I can't remember her name, but a couple months ago she said that women could not relate to Luke Skywalker. And, that I was like, what? I mean,
Kathleen Kennedy said that because I commented on a video. I said, like, the hell we can't.
okay, maybe that's where I saw it from. It must have been one of your posts because I was like, what?
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker is above. He's an ideal. He's kind of what Batman is. He's not a man. He's an ideal. And so anybody can pull whatever it is that they want from the character, and apply it to their life. So, yeah.
And Rey could have been like that if they had written her. They had all the pieces they needed
Sure.
to make that character somebody that we could get behind. I mean, I wasn't entirely disappointed with The Force Awakens, although I'm a fan of some of the EU, and I was disappointed that they didn't bring that in. But they had all the elements that they would have needed to make her a great character and to get the entire fandom behind that. But instead of giving us a well-written character, we got a token. That's the hardest part. Like, I don't want a token. Give me a good story. I don't care what the character is, what gender they are, what sexuality they are. I don't care. Just give me a decent story. You can give me a decent story that has those aspects in that character, which is fine. But don't make that the basis of the character. And please, for God's sakes, don't give me a character that can do everything from the get. You don't start a video game and can do everything from level 1. That's my point. Like, there's progression.
Yeah, most definitely.
They use cheat codes on her. They use all the cheat codes for Rey.
All the cheat codes. Game Genie was in the NES. They hit them and hit it.
Yeah, right. And I miss the days of. It's kind of weird. You can call the Force Awakens premiere like the innocent days of Star Wars. I miss the innocent days where my biggest complaint was walking out of the theater with like, that was kind of like a rehash of A New Hope, but it was still okay,
It made me think of the Phantom Menace, actually, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it made me think of A New Hope, and I was like, well, they kind
I think like even Phantom Menace followed the same beats of A New Hope.
Yeah,
right.
I got a blatant rehashing the way The Force Awakens felt.
Sure.
You could still see similarities between Phantom Menace and A New Hope, because George Lucas said it's like poetry; it's going to repeat itself. So you can still see.
But it was But it was a different story. It's just some of the themes were the same.
The way TLJ did.
Right.
After I started thinking about it the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I was with my son for months and months before TLJ came out.
Sunday after I did, because I saw it the Friday before, and I didn't want to say anything because I was still in kind of shell shock. I was like, okay, what did I just watch? And I'm trying to think, there has to be something redeeming in this movie because it's Star Wars, and I've loved Star Wars growing up. Why am I not wanting to go back out and see it a second time? And the more I thought about it, the more ticked off I grew. And he finally saw it on Sunday, and I asked him, I texted him, I said, so what did you think of the movie? First words out of his mouth were, it's horse's ass.
Yes.
He hated it from the outside.
Poor Chris.
Yeah, well, no, it's quite all right. I've told people why I like the movie. I do not deny that there are problems, and secondly of all, I don't own that one. I might have a digital copy, but I don't. No, honestly, I never bought the DVD of it. The only DVDs I have are of the original trilogy and the prequel. And Shaun, you know that because I bought your copy from you. And
Oh, you mean the original?
the Blu-ray versions.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Orvin Ortega re-edit?
Yes, actually, Drunk 3PO had me on his channel with Ruin Johnson to watch that, and I have to say, if they had done it like that, it would have been
If they'd gone
better.
in that direction, yeah, it would have been better.
I'm not saying. I mean, there was only so much he could do with it because he's still taking it from stock footage, or the footage that we have on screen. He added some cool little things here and there using Battlefront 2, but you know it. But the thing I do say about it is I went to see it once, and that says a lot because all the other ones I've seen numerous amounts of times in the theaters, except for The Force Awakens. I saw it once, and then I saw. And
how many times did you see the original in the theater?
Well, you know, we went to see the re-release of the.
I'm not counting that. I'm talking about the original theatrical release.
Well, the original one I went to see. I saw A New Hope back when it was just Star Wars when I was 2 months old, and I saw it once. I saw not Return of the Jedi, but The Empire Strikes Back probably 4 or 5 times originally, the original version. Empire Strike Back, by that time I went to about 6 times to the original one, and then I saw the prequel like probably 10 times for each one of those, and that was before I went, and I also saw the special edition with the add-ins before that when they did it all at one time. I did that, and then we went to each one of the subsequent ones where they showed the first 3, then Phantom Menace, and then Attack of the Clones, and then the next time it was all the original 3, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and then the Revenge of the Sith. And so I've seen those lots of times, and I'll continue to watch them. I still watch them today, constly.
Yeah, man.
I just have no want.
Yeah, it's just something I usually find myself sitting and watching because they're timeless.
Yeah, I don't have any want to see
Oh, Chris, we have a question from Thomas.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a couple questions. I'll go to Thomas's first because he said it earlier. This is for probably all the panel. My question is, what is that you don't like about, or what is it that you don't like about writing? Is it the writing? Is it the editing? Or is it the thinking process? So how about you guys answer that?
Editing.
Editing.
Editing. Yeah, especially when I have to do it all myself. But I'm lucky enough to have managed to get with someone who's helped me edit my books. So it's really a big burden taken off of me. But yeah, editing is probably the worst part. I love the creation process, and I love putting it together and then looking it over and going through another draft and making sure it looks right. It's just, the nuances. Those are what I enjoy. But actually getting into a thick volume of something and having to edit it, that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Mara, what would you say?
Well, for me, I'm the opposite. I'm a better editor than I am a writer, I feel, because growing up, my dad was an English major, and he said the mark of a good writer is a good editor. So basically, throw out like a really rough draft, and then you basically clean it up as you're going along. Don't worry about writing it perfectly the first time, because you're really not going to get it done the first time.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's really the part I hate is just getting the stupid first sentence out sometimes, because I'll have all these ideas in my head, but I have no idea where to start.
Right.
That's generally the issue I faced.
Yeah. So, Noway, what do you say? What's the worst part about writing? The writing, the editing, and what was the third one? I got to go back here and check on Thomas's. Writing, editing, or the thinking process. What's the worst thing for you? What's the thing you don't like about writing?
This would be a very, I have a very deep insight in this. This will be more of a spiritual answer, I'm more like an autist. I have an autistic characterization. You can say I had HDHS. Is it called in English like the same? Like you are
ADHD.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
In my younger years, and so I had my problems in school and all that stuff, and to bring my focus on paper or in creative.
Okay.
But if I was for myself and nothing on the outside dis- uh, uh, disturbed, I could do a lot of good things, a lot of creative things. And in the later years, I learned meditation, I
When
learned
you're ready.
martial arts and all that stuff. And I had the luck to have really good teachers like Shaolin monks and Wudang people and all that stuff.
Nice.
And I learned meditation deeper. I found a different view of my consciousness, and I mean it like I say it. I turned to have a different view to my own consciousness. I learned to find a still point, a point where I can take my thoughts and bring it into a senseful order and all that stuff that wasn't there before. You know, normally I was driven by emotions. I was driven by all that stuff, like an outside force. And those people taught me how to bring it into a focused way, and I'm really thankful for that. And I'm absolutely convinced that everyone can learn that.
Uh-huh.
The hardest task is to know what you think and what you want to say and what you feel, far away from what others tell you. So the hardest part is to decide what is your part of this topic, what is your view of this topic, and that makes you an individual. And you can learn that. Everyone can learn that.
That's
Some
true.
people have that. Some parents can teach their children that in very early ages. I learned this very, very late, something about 27, 28. And before that, I was not able. I was not a social person. I had no long-time relationships and all that stuff. And that makes it so convincing, because I know exactly what I learned, when I learned it, and what makes the difference. When I was 22, a live stream like this wouldn't have been possible because I wouldn't have the focus and all that stuff. I wouldn't have known what I
Right.
should be, all that stuff.
I get that. This was I totally get what you're saying. No way. If this technology would have been around when Chris and I were 22, we would have been all over it, but it would have been all over the place.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, there are certain things that come with age and experience. So yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from there.
All right, Shaun, what would you say? Writing, editing, or the thinking?
Well, I've always been more of an idea type of person, and I'm more of a lyricist really than I am a writer, as a musician. So when I write, my initial thought is that like the second line has to rhyme or the fourth line has to rhyme, so
Has to rhyme all the time.
yes. And then I'm like, okay, now it's time for the chorus. No, it's not. It's new paragraph. Wait.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of a different headspace for me, and I've in younger years I've written smaller books, and I've had some poetry published in of Library of Congress, something or other. I forget what it was.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think it was called the book was Recollections of Yesterday or something like that. And so yeah, I've always been very much of a writer, but mostly on the musical side. So when I do write, I find it hard to nail down the structure of an actual paragraph. So I will sit and stare at the page, where I guess these days WordPad for like an hour, trying to, okay, rearranging this goes here and this goes here, and so structure is my enemy. The big takeaway is structure is my enemy.
Okay.
Now,
Yes, what is yours?
I would say, Shaun and I are very similar. We both write music. I also had something that I won a Young Arthur's award for.
The Dudley Moore movie?
No, that was not that one. No.
Great
Authors. But I do write a lot of songs, and those things kind of become normal. That's just, like you said, the structure of how you write a song. So like every other paragraph ends up being like a chorus. You're like, wait, I just wrote that one already. No.
Yeah.
Honest to God, for me, it's not even the thinking. I got lots of thoughts up here, lots of ideas, and I can get those ideas out. It is the editing process. My mother is also an English major. She was an English teacher for years and years. And so I always hear in my head the things she doesn't like me saying, because that's not proper English. That's not this. That's not like that. So when I write something out, if I stop to think, is this proper? Is this the way it should be written? I will lose it and just be at a dead end. I have to type straight out. I've been working on a script for one of the bits we're going to be doing here soon. I finally got it done a few weeks ago. And what happened was I got about halfway through one, and I hit a wall. And then a couple months later, I went back to it, and I just went boom and got it out. And then I got another one out right after that. And that's how I got to be. If I stop to think about it and stop to think, is this how it would be said? I'm done, because now my mind is on that editor side of things, and I lose the track of what I want.
Most of the times, one time in specific detail, that you were over here and we were handing out a script for video, and you were like, "Is it said this way or this way?" And then you called your mom, and you're like, "Okay, this is what's going on. Should it be said like this or like this?" And then she said, "Oh, well, both actually work."
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and I'll do that, and she's always my go-to. I mean, my mom's a great lady to have around. I'm glad I still have her, and so I'll go through, I'll edit my own stuff, and then I'll email it over to her, and I says, "Hey, can you look at this?" And it's like having some New York Times editor. Oh wait, no, I don't want to say that, because they suck at editing nowadays. What I hate is when you go through an article somewhere and you notice all the mistakes of somebody else's article. And then you go like, where's the editor? How the hell did you get that job? Like for New York Times, every once in a while I'll read a New York Times thing online, and I'll notice all the mistakes. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's getting paid 50, 60, 80, whatever the heck, $1,000 a year. And he's not even doing his job. How do I get that job?
What I find even more funny are the sites like the Mary Sue that come directly after us.
Yeah.
And they absolutely have no one to proofread their material, because I'm the few times that I've read their articles, I'm like, I have to read a paragraph a couple times. I'm like, what?
Does that say what I think it says? What?
I think I know what you're trying to say, but do you know what you're trying to say?
I had an idea or inspiration what I like to say to your story. In the moment, Hollywood is going to favor women, and we know it's not equality anymore. It's not feminism, like the basics of feminism anymore, like equality and all that stuff. What we already have reached. We grew up with this respect for a woman. Who talks about that? That's normal. It should be
Common
normal.
sense.
People who think another way they are ill. They have a problem. They haven't got a good childhood or something. But I had an idea. You all remember the movie The Crawl?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's true. Women have a very special position in our society. And there's a special sentence I will never forget. This was one of the most nice sentences I've ever heard. It's called, "Mother is the name of God in the heart of a child."
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything you know, what are they talking about? What are they sending us? You know, everyone with a little bit common sense knows that.
Well, there is an innate characteristic that exists, I think, in certain types of people that are projected in healthy ways. Like, I mean, okay, like we make fun of toxic masculinity and things like that, but to a degree, there are dudes out there that act like that, you know.
Oh yeah.
But it's not a majority of the population, and there are women who have dealt with men who abuse their strength and abuse them, you know, whether it's domestic abuse or sexual abuse. You know, like these things are still issues, but it's not the majority of the population. And when it comes to those issues, when you make a big deal out of nothing, it takes away attention from the things that need attention. When you make false accusations of racism, it takes away from the attention for the actual cases of racism, which is another problem.
The Jussie Smollett thing, I mean, that still astounds me to this day.
And the fact that nothing's happened still.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you know, I would go even further. I would play back the ball to media and Hollywood and entertainment. If we look at the sad happenings about this last 3 shootings, which is really sad, and my condolences go to the families.
Absolutely.
You know, I blame mainstream media and I blame Hollywood because they have the main influence on people. They have no they have no stringent morals because they are shown in the open with their drug problems, with all that problems, with all that stuff. But they want to teach us. They want to show us, you know. And a lot of those people are raised in Hollywood, are raised this influential systems
in that culture.
I don't want to look any further of that, you know, but they never grew up in working hard for their life. They don't know what an African has to manage in his country. They don't know what it means to be a French guy in Paris when the riot are happening. Or Kiri Morning in the moment now in China. They want socialism. Look what's happening in Hong Kong in the moment.
I'm so fearful for her right now.
Yeah, me too. And who's to blame for that? Who has the most influence in the last 70 years about morals and how we act with each others? We see it in the television every time, and every strange guy is presented as if he's a god, and if he says something that has some meaning to it, you know. And then stars like Amy Winehouse, which I love for her music, but she told us about her life, and people learn that this is normal. This can happen, and mental illness is normal. For me, these people, these shooters, are truly mental ill, because I ask the question: do you think it's a sane thought to think that you change anything in this world if you kill or harm people which have nothing to do with it, just to make a statement? That's illness.
That's sick.
That's not sanity. You know, because you don't understand the basic functions of your fucking brain. Sorry, your brain.
I think Steven said it earlier about the fact that the government and Hollywood government uses Hollywood as a tool.
Yep.
And they allow, and again, you said it best when it's this it's the diversion tactic. Look over here so we can do this. And while they're doing this is happening over here, and we see identity politics, this, and this. But here, what really needs to be seen is not being watched, and it's like that. I mean, I think
and watch what the other hand is doing.
Yeah,
it's always in that way.
Yeah, and but you make a lot of good points about that too. Noway.
Hey, Chris, do we want to screen share and give the 14 people watching maybe an idea of what the website looks like if they've never been there?
We sure can. Do you want to do that?
Yeah,
do that. You want me to do it?
Well, you're running the ship, Captain, so...
That's scary that you're even saying that. Hold on just a second. We'll do this. I will go here. You know you can too, but... All right. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. And we're going to go here. So can everybody see this?
Yes.
There you go. This is chaoscentral.com. And like I said, we have lots of different things on here. As you can see, we have the scrolling for our highlighted projects. And you got your video feed right here, which will contain a lot more than just Shaun and mine's videos. In the future, we're going to be having different channels. Send us.
I will do a how-to video on this.
Yes.
How to add the videos. It's just 3 points you have to know, and I will send it out to you so you can add your own videos. But I would say the rule should be your most important videos. Okay, and what we have, and I'm really proud of that. The viewers should know we have a fan fiction part.
Yeah,
I like to really add some bring some life in this fan fiction part too, because that's a nice add-on.
Any Raylo?
Oh God!
No, I can fab by myself. I don't need the ring.
And we've got everything that we can do. We got everything about people that are involved with the project right now, right here.
And I'd like to point out how, in case anybody from the other side is listening, I'd like to point out exactly how diverse our team is just already.
Exactly.
Virtue signal.
Yes.
and you know what's funny, Shaun? I'd like to mention this right off the bat to anybody like that who's listening. What's funny is we didn't even.
I like Asian girls. I'm done.
We didn't even have to force it. We asked, and people showed up.
Yes, exactly.
And we will tell you guys the same thing we've told everybody else up until this point, is that we're always willing for new content creators. If you've got something you want to write, even if you don't want to even if you don't want to do it a ton of times, if you just got one thing you want to put up there, by all means, let us know, because we're looking for the voice of the Fandom Menace and the Fandom Collective.
And it's. I think the concept you have to differentiate a little bit. We are not only placing your articles on the site. We will also try to advertise your own YouTube, your own website. We don't have the problem to advertise your work. Especially, we don't like to suck your work into our site so we can present ourselves. We really like to spread the word and help you to grow.
Well, and that's one of the founding principles of the Fandom Menace: help to support each other.
Absolutely.
And you retain your own identity, so it's very important. Yes.
We have a question here that I didn't get to earlier. Scorpio, another person who's writing for our website, is in the chat, and they'd like to know what everyone's favorite director currently is.
Ooh.
Steven, would you like to take that first, or would you like a second?
I need a second.
Okay.
I don't like anybody right now.
No way. What do you think?
Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, because that guy, he can be crazy and all that stuff, but he's somehow honest.
Mm-hmm.
He says what he's thinking. That's exactly what we are doing. I don't care who talks shit about me or all that stuff. You know, I know exactly what I'm saying. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm absolutely staying for that. Okay, and I don't care. You can discuss it with me, and I love to discuss the points that because grown-ups do that. They discuss things, and they find consent to bring evolution. That's what real grown-ups do. All the other bullshit, if you like Chuck Wendick and you call other people incels and all that stuff.
Mm.
Hey, grow up, fuck yourself. Really,
They're
go
so far up
somewhere.
their own asses. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, true. Really, have a good discussion. Let's find a point which we both can live with.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest tasks and the biggest opportunities we have. And I don't want to think about if you're a woman, if you're a hot girl, I got a boner. That's fine, but I can discuss. I can discuss with you. Yeah,
there's always going to be middle ground if you look hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Mara, do you need a second still, or do you have one?
It's hard for me to hear sometimes. It's his favorite director.
Yes.
Yes. It's hard for me to narrow it down, but I guess because I grew up watching classic movies a lot with my parents. I'm talking about 30s, 40s, 50s films.
Oh wow.
I'd have to probably say Fritz Long, I should say, is probably up there among my favorite directors because I love his use of lighting, his storytelling, his juxtaposition of scenes, and sometimes particularly with the movie M with Peter Lorre prior to him coming to the United States. I loved the back and forth between the criminals and the police, that whole exchange. So I'd probably put him near the top along with like Hitchcock and I'm blanking on the director's name. Why am I blanking on it? Billy Wilder. Wilder. I love Stalag 17.
Oh yeah,
like
Billy
that.
Wilder.
Yes.
Awesome.
Steven, you got one?
I'm going to have to say I don't even really have one.
Okay.
I enjoy an eclectic array of styles, and but I'll give a shout out. My favorite director right now is the Rookie Critic.
That's very good. Shaun, how about you?
The first director that came to mind when this question was asked was Robert Zemeckis.
Ooh.
And
That's a good one.
but I mean, I also have to give it to Spielberg too, because between Zemeckis and Spielberg, they helped craft my childhood and my teen years and my early adult years. Without those two, without those two, we wouldn't have Back to the Future. We wouldn't have Jaws. We wouldn't have Jurassic Park. I mean, so many hit movies. That I just can't imagine not having these movies. So yeah, those are my two picks. What about you, Chris?
Okay. So first one would be Stanley Kubrick. I would call him one of the fathers of the modern sci-fi film. I mean, 2001 was kind of I don't know. It's just it's amazing what he did with that, with absolutely nothing that they had, even with Star Wars. But I love what I like about Stanley Kubrick is the immense amount of detail put into things that look mundane. If you have ever seen The Shining, there's a lot of hidden messages in there, and I can't remember. It was I have to look here. Hold on, just a second.
19K Fox says Rob Reiner comes to mind. Yeah, Scorpio. Still does have it. Ready Player One was great.
Yeah, there's there's a documentary out there called Room 237 about The Shining, and these people go into the detail about how he would turn cans showing certain pictures on the can, and they'd all be turned the same way, which was a symbolic way of saying something. And he did this constantly in these movies, and unless you know he's doing it, you don't really catch it. And he did it with Clockwork Orange, he did it with The Shining, but he was kind of he was one of the people that people like Lucas and Spielberg wanted to be like. They were kind of in a group with him, and they all went to the same film school. They admired each other, and this is where these people's shooting styles and their thought processes were. So everything that you see in like Jaws, for instance, Spielberg's first big hit, he had a lot of symbolism in that movie. And when you go back and you actually,
because the shark wouldn't work.
Well, exactly, but that's true. He had to figure out another way to point blank bring the story out. He didn't have the shark, so what did he do? He went and he found other ways. And it turned out that if he had the shark and the shark had worked the way they wanted it to, chances are Jaws would not have been the movie we got, and we wouldn't have liked it as much.
We would have gotten something like one of the sequels that were very, very
shoddy at best.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Don Chaffee, I think was his name, Jason and the Argonauts.
Okay.
I loved him because he found a way to get his vision on screen no matter what. The stop motion from that done by God, I always forget his name when I need it. Oh God, you know who I'm talking about, right?
No, you are on the spot.
Hold on, let me look this up just so I don't get it wrong, because I gotta say this. Ray Harryhausen. Ray Harryhausen did the stop motion in that. And when you think about stop motion animation, there's hundreds of hours that go into that to get what he got on that. But the thing is that Don Chaffee, he made that movie without that. And it takes a special person to take, like even George Lucas said it, he had to help other directors after Star Wars envision what was going to be there, because it wasn't there then. So you have to direct people without all the components of the scene, and they did that very well. And that was back in the in the like 50s or 60s or 1963. So I mean, you think about that, and it's amazing. And I mean, I as far as new directors go, I mean, I love Quentin Tarantino. I love
James Wan. James Wan, really good.
Yeah, Wan's great. Robert Zemeckis is awesome too. But these people take their
Zemeckis is not a new director, my friend.
No. What I mean, but what I mean is he's current. He's still kind of current. And what I mean is these people took what those people laid down as a foundation, and they then brought in CGI or better stop motion and stuff like that. And while yes, CGI may have been ruining a lot of films, if you know how to use it properly, and that's kind of what Don Chaffee did with Jason and the Argonauts. He used what was available to him to the benefit of the story.
Chris, let me see if your high school film appreciation knowledge still works. Who is the most egotistical director of all time?
Yeah, that was Birth of a Nation. God.
D.W. Griffith.
Yeah, D.W. Griffith.
Yep.
Everything that was done for that movie.
By D.W. Griffith, produced by D.W. Griffith.
Not only did he put everything.
Yes.
Directed this, that, everything was listed in separate order. It wasn't like he just put his name up at the top and said, I did all this. He did a shot for each one of those things.
I mean, if there would have been like all the positions today, it'd be like best boy, D.W. Griffith, wardrobe consultant, D.W. Griffith. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
So, real quick, Noway. I think Scorpio asked another question here for you. I got to go back up here and see. Yeah, he said, so Noway, would you be interested in the proposed Quentin Tarantino directed Star Trek film?
Sure. I try to answer this very shortly, just because I'm curious about his take on Star Trek. But I'm to make it a little bit further. I think Tarantino is a guy who knows exactly what his uh, effect will be.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know Tarantino will just do a grown up movie, up than PG-13 or something out of that. We know that because he loves that. But what I know what Tarantino would do, he would pay respect to the basic creation of
Yeah.
Star Trek. He just
You would not have Mr. Spock dropping F-bombs.
exactly.
Right.
He just would give it a little bit more gore, a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more direct language, and he would go a little bit deeper into some ideas about like what is an alien, how they behave, and all that. He would show it a little bit more direct, and that makes it so interesting because this guy gives a shit about what other people are thinking about.
I think it'd be a great, interesting thing to pursue. I wouldn't mind seeing that at all if it came about.
No, I give all Star Trek and Star Wars a shot, but I think that he's a lot of people don't. Maybe you guys do. A lot of people don't know where Tarantino started. He started working at like a Blockbuster or something. It was a video store that was in Hollywood, and he was actually close to a lot of Hollywood stars, and they would come in. Like Bruce Willis would come in and be like, "Hey, man, I liked you in blankety blank movie," and it'd be one of their obscure, more artsy films, and they were really taken aback by how deep he dove into people's stuff. He wasn't looking at the surface at all the big hits. He was looking down here at the real meat and potatoes that these actors and actresses really liked because it was stuff that they didn't do a lot, and they saw that he respected what people were doing, not just for the flashiness, but for the actual artistic value of it. And so that's where he got his first break. Was I don't remember who it was actually, but somebody did turn him over to a studio and said, "Hey, you guys might want to talk to this guy. He's really big into movies and he knows a lot about it." And we lost that in a lot of Hollywood, is we've lost the people who really cared about where Hollywood came from. And the staying true to what Hollywood originally was, which was telling great stories, and we've lost a lot of that. So, yeah.
Well, one thing I said during our Hobbs and Shaw review today is that CGI was created to enhance the film, and instead, CGI is taking over more of a script type of it's taking it, they're writing it with CGI and like the big oohs and the ahs, and they're not actually spending the time writing out the script and the emotional beats and things like that. And so
the problem with this, Shaun, is this we are standing on a border or on a line where actors could be obsolete. We already reached that, and I think this is a special stress in Hollywood. They know that.
Yep.
And they don't. Who wants to give up his job if it's a good job and you love it and you have a good time with all that stuff? Who wants that? But everybody knows you can do everything what you do in the moment. You can do with CGI.
Yeah, because if you're an actor and you've been around working solidly for at least 5 years, they could string all kinds of dialogue together from everything that you've just said. So you'd have years of movies that they could digitally recreate you in.
Look at the take in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Of Tarkin.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous what this software can do.
I mean, even Leia, even though her mouth was a little off, I mean, I was just astounded how real Leia looked in
Yeah.
Rogue.
Yeah, absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I'm absolutely a computer nerd. You know, I build my own systems. I'm a miner. I'm mining cryptocurrencies and all that stuff. I build all that stuff by myself. And you know, this game, what we are building, a like I made this article changing the game, uh,
Mhm.
making computer games or real life experiences actually a thing. Please read this article because we are serious about that. You can, we really try to change the game, bring the people back into the nature, bring the people back into the family, play your computer games with real life characters, uh, with the same experience, but add experience to it. You know, bodily experience, and we can all do this. Uh, the difference is your own experience, and that
Mhm.
gives you this gives you a special fulfillment. Okay, and you learn a lot of stuff. I wanted to say that you people read that.
No, yeah, definitely. So let's go around and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Actually, before we do that, I forget this sometimes. This is, of course, the gospel according to Chris. So I have to do the wheel of names. This wheel of names picks the person we're going to have on next week. So we're going to do that really, really quick. Let me share the screen so you guys can all see this wonderful wheel of names. And this is the wheel of names right here. Of course, you see everybody that's on. Some of you guys are on here because you haven't been on by yourself yet. So we're going to spin it right now.
Wait.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Ah! What?
You need to take me off.
No, I put you on there because, well, we're going to have our own discussion. But there you go.
The lonely banter. All right.
Only banter has been picked by the wheel of names. All hail the wheel of names.
LB will be unlonely for one more day.
Yes. So Merry Christmas to him. All right. So let's go around again, and everybody can say their goodbyes and tell everybody where you're from or what you're about, where they can find you, all that good stuff. Let's start with you, Stephen. Go ahead and tell everybody.
You can find me on Twitter mostly because I'm a junkie now. I didn't even care about Twitter up until about 6 months ago, and now I'm on it every damn day. Stephen Walton Jr. You can find me on YouTube at author Stephen Walton. I will be putting out more information for the Fandom Menace volumes. They are in production right now with my editor and co-author. And as soon as I can give anybody more information about it, I will. And you can read my articles at Chaos Central as I release them. I'm going to be probably doing a lot of work there because most of the material for the volume is done and it's out of my hands, and now it's being played with by someone else.
Oh,
And I want to do a little bit advertising for that guy, right? Stephen Walton Jr. You absolutely should take a look for his GoFundMe. He's an absolute awesome writer.
yeah. Why don't you put that in the
Brings
chat?
He brings the topic to the point. He reads like he's not biased. He absolutely looks at the point what is happening in Hollywood and the fandoms and all that stuff from a really, really open perspective. You should have a read. You should absolutely give him a chance and fund his GoFundMe. Please.
Thank you, Noway.
Yeah, why don't you put that in the chat there, Stephen? Why don't you go ahead and put your link in the chat for your GoFundMe? That'd be a great thing. So Noway, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, what you're about, all that stuff.
You know, I try to. I really found my love into help people to bring their voices out. That's the Fandom Menace absolutely caught me. I love this community. I love the people who are in the community, they are absolutely awesome. Every one of them, starting from Geeks and Gamers, Sean, Mara, Steven, Black Angus, the Quartering, Ethan Van Skyver, everybody talk about even Ethan Van Skyver, he's far right. I never saw anything far right, but he's a good comedian and a good comic artist.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's what we lost, to see the people for what they are, hear them and try to understand them, and then where they are. He's just a father of kids. He has a loving relationship, one of those happy guys who has a functional relationship to Andrea and his wife, stuff.
Ethan drew this. This is what Ethan can draw.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing, and all that stuff. I don't want to go into this Comics Gate stuff and all that stuff. I'm just think we should get our voices out there for fairness. I absolutely love every race. I love every gender, especially women.
Every gender, y'all heard that.
Yeah, every gender, especially women, because I'm more focused on women. I like bouncy boobies and all that stuff, but it's old style, old school. It's old school, And I try to get a voice for the fandom menace. I get the voice for creators like critics, or all these awesome people. And what I can do, I will do. You find my YouTube channel under Noway Neophobic. Someone can share it here if Hanstar, if you are able to share it here. Noway Neophobic. I tried to do a new series about how to apply the real force. There are actually teachings and they are working. I can guarantee you that. I cannot guarantee you how far they go, but the force is real. I want to do a series about that. Till then, I will work on the site and I will work on small funny things like the hidden scenes of Captain Marvel. You should see that. It's called the Impossibility Slap. And I see you on Twitter. You find me on Twitter under Noway Neophobic.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Mara, you've got to be going. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, what you're about, and where they can find you? And if you got to run, by all means, I understand getting up early.
Well, if we're wrapping up now, it's fine. I just have to get up by about 4:30 tomorrow morning because I got to get to the work earlier tomorrow, which is gonna be fun. I go by Mara Jade on YouTube, and I promise once I'm able to afford a new computer, I'll be uploading videos. Until then, you can find me on Twitter under OG Mara Jade. I typically either retweet stupid tweets to put them on blast for the fandom menace, or I spank beta males on a daily basis.
That's right.
She does a damn good job of that.
I love you.
She does a damn good job of that.
Yes, she does.
All right, Sean, tell everybody about you, your page, all that. Play your little thing if you want.
You can usually find me in abandoned
in the van down by the river?
No, in abandoned KB toy stores or Musicland stores. Just crying out to an empty store, why God, why? Where are all the toys and music? Where has it all gone? But aside from that, you can find me at youtube.com/Shaun Stackhouse Reacts. That is my main page. Also, over here where you currently are right now is my second page. And also at what am I talking about? Oh yeah, Twitter. Twitter.com/Shaun Stackhouse. That's where you can find me.
All right. Well, again, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. You guys were a great chat group, and you guys were a great panel. I appreciate you guys coming on here talking about this wonderful project we have going. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Again, I'm Chris Knight. This is the Real Review 3000, and this has been the
Mars.
Gospel according to Chris. And everybody say goodbye. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.